Hi girls and boys. I'm going to share a few pages of one of my favourite childhood books with you. But, there's the front cover. There's the back cover. Oh, what book is it? Well, I think most of you might know this story. I've changed a couple of little bits to make it not so obvious. But I wonder whether when I'm reading some pages, you can guess what this book is. It's magical. It was dark now. The night had already begun. He and Sophie were hurried into the cave, and they put on those brilliant blinding lights that seemed to come from nowhere. He placed Sophie on the table. "Stay there, please," he said. "And no chittering. I is needing to listen only to silence when I is mixing up such a knotty, plexicated dream as this." He hurried away from her. He got an enormous empty glass jar that was the size of a washing machine. He clutched it to his chest and hurried towards the shelves on which stood the thousands and thousands of smaller jars containing the captured dreams. "Dreams about giants," he muttered to himself as he searched the labels. "The giants is guzzling human beings. No, not that one. No, not that one. Here's one. Oh, here's another." He grabbed the jars and unscrewed the tops. He tipped the dreams into the enormous jar he was clutching, and as each one went in, Sophie caught a glimpse of a small sea-green blob tumbling from one jar to another. He hurried towards another shelf. "Now," he muttered, "I is wanting dreams about giggle houses for girls and about boggle boxes for boys." He was becoming very tense now. Sophie could almost see the excitement bubbling inside him as he scurried back and forth among his beloved jars. There must have been 50,000 dreams altogether up there on the shelves, but he seemed to know almost exactly where every one of them was. "Dreams about a little girl," he muttered, "and dreams about me. Oh, come on, hurry up, get on with it. Now, where in the wonky world is I keeping those?" And so it went on. In about half an hour, he found all the dreams he wanted and tipped them into one huge jar. He put the jar on the table. Sophie sat watching him, but said nothing. Inside the big jar, lying on the bottom of it, she could clearly see about 50 of those oval, sea-green jellyfish shapes, all gently pulsing in and out, some lying on top of others, but each one still a separate individual dream. "Now he is mixing them," he announced. He went to the cupboard where he kept his bottles of frog's scottle, and from it took a gigantic egg beater. It was one of those that has a handle which you turn, and down below there are lots of overlapping blades that go whizzing around. He inserted the bottom end of his contraption into the big jar where the dreams were lying. "Watch," he said. He started turning the handle very fast. Flashes of green and blue exploded inside the jar. The dreams were being whisked into a sea-green froth. "The poor things!" Sophie cried. "They is not feeling it," he said as he turned the handle. "Dreams is not like human beings or animals. They has no brains. They is made of zosimus." After about a minute, he stopped whisking. The whole bottle was now full to the brim with large bubbles. They were almost exactly like the bubbles we ourselves blow from soapy water, except that these had even brighter and more beautiful colours swimming on the surface. "Keep watching," he said. Quite slowly, the topmost bubble rose up through the neck of the jar and floated away. A second one followed, then a third, then a fourth. Soon the cave was filled with hundreds of beautifully coloured bubbles, all drifting gently through the air. It was a truly wonderful sight. As Sophie watched them, they all started floating towards the cave entrance, which was open. "They are going out," Sophie whispered. "Of course," he said. "Where to?" Those is all little tiny dream bits that I isn't using, he said. They is going back to the misty country to join up with proper dreams. This is all a little bit beyond me, Sophie said. Dreams is full of mystery and magic, he said. Do not try to understand them. Look in the big bottle, and you will now see the dream you is wanting for the Queen. Sophie turned and stared into the great jar. On the bottom of it, something was thrashing around wildly, bouncing up and down and flinging itself against the walls of the jar. Good heavens, she cried. Is that it? That's it, he said proudly. But, it's horrible, Sophie cried. It's jumping about. It wants to get out. Ah, that's because it's a troggle-humper, he said. It's a nightmare. But I don't want you to give the Queen a nightmare, Sophie cried. If she is dreaming about giants guzzling up little boys and girls, then what is you expecting it to be expect a nightmare? He said. Oh no, Sophie cried. Oh yes, he said. A dream where you is seeing little chidlers being eaten is almost about as frightsome troggle-humping dream you can get. It's a kicksy bog-thumper. It's a wopsy grub-switcher. It's all of them riddled into one. It's as bad as that dream I blew into the flesh lumper-eater this afternoon. It's worse, actually. Sophie stared down at the frightful nightmare dream that was still thrashing away in a huge glass jar. It was much larger than the others. It was about the size of, well, and the shape of, shall we say, a turkey's egg. It was jellyish. It had tinges of bright scarlet deep inside. There was something terrible about the way it was thrashing itself against the sides of the jar. I don't want to give the Queen a nightmare, Sophie said. I is thinking, he said, that your Queen will be happy to have a nightmare, if having a nightmare is going to save a lot of human beings from being gobbled up by those filthsome giants. Is I right, or is I left? Suppose you're right, Sophie said. It's got to be done. I'm not going to read you any more. I wonder, do you think you know what the book is? I'll tell you. It's the BFG by Roald Dahl. Some of you may have read the book or watched the film, but honestly, it's such a funny book and it's brilliant. The pictures are also really fascinating, but I just didn't show you any because I didn't want to ruin it. I hope you enjoyed listening, girls and boys, and when I'm next in school seeing people from the windows when I pop in on my meeting days, I might come and ask you if any of you have read the book before. Take care, everybody. See you on the assembly on Teams soon. Bye.